What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Nonsense Brewery special bonus episode edition. Um, so, if you guys don't know, over here on the Jerome Vaz YouTube channel, we have a podcast that we also work on called the Nonsense Brewery, separate channel. It'll be tagged in the description below. But we're just a kind of a group of friends. We get together every week, talk, but most importantly, we're all engineers slash and CISO here on the screen that you see is a computer science major, but we don't hold that against him. I'm Jerome. Normally I'd be sipping on a beer right now, but it's 9 a.m., so I'm sipping on nothing. And I'm gonna pass it over to CISO. What are you sipping on, man?
So I've got a water in my Yeti, kind of. I guess they call these a tumbler. Uh, as I was telling you before the call, I was just chilling, asleep. But I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk about this.
Slumped.
Yeah, man. Had a just had to sleep, dude. And no. So what's up? Yeah. So with respect to, I guess, yeah, glad to be a part of like this episode. We're going to talk a little bit more about like the engineering background. I did study computer engineering, so that's how I know you guys, right? Because I did
That's
have
fair.
some electrical
That's fair.
classes. But yeah, I have stepped more into the world of computer science and really just like IT consulting, tech consulting, since leaving college. But our other host, Josh, what's up, man?
Yeah, good morning, guys. It's 9 a.m. I also just rolled out of bed. I've got some coffee.
Dang,
Just made.
can't even tell. You
poured
look
up.
beautiful.
Thanks.
Also, your
Yeah, I got
coffee
my-
looked super light. I'm not gonna lie. It looked more like tea. It literally didn't look like coffee.
Well, it was a very thin pour with the light coming in on it.
Oh,
It's strong
gotcha.
coffee, I promise.
I
That's
was
nice.
like,
But
wow, look at this guy,
I'm
26 years
about
old.
to make some eggs. Jerome, go ahead and get like the thumbnail. For the
Okay.
video.
Yeah, I'll screen grab that.
You
Josh,
guys need to
if this is your first time tuning into the Nonsense Brewery, Josh loves to do this bit where while the rest of us are sitting down and actually recording a podcast, he will just go about his daily chores.
Dude, I'm hungry.
Maximizing the time. I like that.
I guess.
I'm running an 8K today. The it's Funfest week in Kingsport. So
Okay.
I gotta stock up. I gotta eat some eggs. Put a little butter in the pan. So anyway,
I guess, from an engineering perspective, efficiency, right?
exactly.
I guess so.
Multitasking.
Well, look, guys, a lot of people.
Cody, in Six Sigma, there's a term of fivesing your desk or whatever. I'm just fivesing my life.
5S, you mean?
I'm 5Sing my life.
There you go. There you go.
I don't like Six Sigma.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people on this channel have been asking for a long time about just, what it's like to be an engineer, what school was like and stuff. And so I'd like to give them, more than just my perspective, So just for a little context here, Josh and I, both electrical engineers, both went and worked at Eastman for a little bit. Josh still works at Eastman. And CISO, like he said, computer engineer. I guess first question to ask you guys, like, what got you into engineering to begin with? I know I've told my story a couple of times on this channel. Basically, I felt like it was just the most logical step for me. My parents were always asking, what kind of engineering are you going to do? Maybe starting with in CISO, why did you, feel like going into engineering to begin with?
It's an interesting question for sure. Answer from my perspective to that question. I didn't take any physics in college. I was actually on a very heavy chemistry route.
Oh, really?
The main reason for that was when I actually started high school, back when I lived in Florida, I was more like in this medical prep program. Nothing crazy, just in the sense of like it was preparing you for the medical world, get some certs, to whether it's like first aid or kind of like a registered certified like nurse, like all this kind of stuff, just to get you exposed to that, so that when you go to your undergrad degree, you're doing something medically related that then leads to a some graduate school, like AKA a medical school, um, um, the other one like
PA,
physician assistant, yeah,
PA,
all
yeah,
that kind of stuff. Yeah, but so what I ended up doing was like halfway when we moved through to another state, to Tennessee, entered an IB program, and I just kind of like decided I wasn't gonna do that. I was just gonna do school.
yeah.
And when I was applying around my senior year, I ended up just kind of like looking at the majors, looking at the options. My parents did have some input, but they were more of like they wanted me to study something that would like give me a certain kind of thinking, and I think engineering was that. Plus,
Like
it would,
analytical kind of.
yeah, and then it would end up with a job. But I was looking at all the options, and I was kind of just guessed on the chemistry. Like I
Yeah,
had taken AP, IB chemistry. I was done. I passed the exams. I'd done well, but I was just, it was enough. And so that's how I decided upon like computer engineering. Was like I just kind of did process of elimination in terms
yeah,
of which engineerings I didn't vibe with, and then I thought about like, well, uh, what kind of work could I end up doing with computers? And big things that come to mind are like apps for people,
yeah,
but like you code, you program a lot of things, right? Infrastructure is very essential for things that you don't think have computers, or you kind of assume very basic understanding of it. And
for
that
sure.
was it. It was kind of an assumption. It's proved itself over time, but like obviously had no idea. That's all I would say in like the
Yeah,
interviews and stuff, that I just like thought computer engineering would let me do cool things.
yeah. Josh, what about you? Did you always want to be an engineer?
Um, I didn't know what I wanted in high school, I guess. Like it started there for me too.
You
And I
look
did
like
take some AP.
you were the freaking cool kid that didn't care about anything, huh?
Yeah, I was focused on soccer and girls and not not a career. Um, but
I mean,
yeah, I
most high
guess
schoolers are.
yeah, right. It really started probably senior year for me. I mean, because at that point you're like applying to colleges and you're like, all right, I gotta shape it up here. Gotta figure
Yeah.
something out. So I took AP classes as well. I took like English and APUSH, AP US history, and some of the other like uh more like I guess soft science ones. Uh, I took chemistry also, but I had AP physics and it was combined with calculus. We took calculus and physics together,
Oh,
and
that's
my
kind of
teacher
weird.
for that class was awesome. It was Miss Pedigo, and she
Shout
like
out Miss
made
Pedigo.
very yeah, shout out Miss Pedigo, and like she made me do science bowl. So I spent like a lot of days after school with her that I wasn't playing soccer, and we like shot model rockets in class because it was like for projectile motion. So she just made it
Oh,
really
that's
like
sweet.
she made it really interactive and really interesting. And so, and I was actually like, that was one of the classes I was good in. Like, um, at our school, it was like optional to take the, um, AP test or whatever.
Hmm.
Well, they tried to say it wasn't optional and they tried to make you do it, but I only sat for certain exams. So like I
Yeah.
took chemistry and I took the physics and the calculus one and I did like well on them. I took the English one. I did not do well. So I was
That's how
always
I
bad at English.
was. I did
Yeah.
terrible on the
Well,
English one.
you have an excuse because English is what your third like
Yeah.
second and a half
Third.
language,
Yeah,
third language
exactly.
kind of
Second and
technically.
a half. We'll go with that one.
Well, you don't know Tom Mill very well, so I'll give you
Oh,
half
you
credit.
remembered. What a good friend.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, so I knew I wanted to be in engineering coming into college, I guess, freshman year.
Yeah.
And I actually declared, and I think this is why I was roommates with Austin on our floor, but I declared a nuclear engineering as a major. I don't know if you guys knew that.
I did not.
Um,
Why'd you do that?
because I don't know, I thought it was the coolest, I guess. And I
Mhm.
was like,
Okay.
yeah, this will be fun. But anyway, so like I kind of realized all I'm going to be able to do with that is go to grad school or work at Oak Ridge or work on a submarine for the Navy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do any of that stuff. And so I went to electrical just because there were so many disciplines like within it, and there's so many more options out of school.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so and it's just there's more demand for it. So I kind of thought,
Yeah,
you
for
know, it's something you
sure.
can do a bachelor's and get out and make some good money, or you can, I mean, you have options to go
Yeah.
For
to
You
sure.
grad school as well.
you
So
could have got ended up in France. I know they have like some fusion reactor that they do a lot of tests over there
yeah,
on.
yeah,
That could have been kind of hype, you know. But
that
obviously,
stuff's just nuts to me. I still so Austin, our he was on mine and CISO's floor in Brown freshman year, and he's like the smartest guy I know, man. And the thing I always say this about him, but like he's really smart, and like sometimes smart people like slack off because they're so smart like they don't have to work as hard, but he also works his ass off.
Yeah.
So he's just a deadly combination.
Yeah,
He's a
he's Tony
grad
Stark,
school in
man.
Berkeley right now.
oh yeah.
But and so Austin, like I'll still ask him sometimes, like, hey, how you doing on Fusion? You got a solution for us yet? So
We need
I'll
that
text
shit,
him.
That's
dude.
funny. That's
I
funny.
know.
We
I'm like,
need that
where's the when are we gonna
unlimited
harness the power
power,
of the sun?
unlimited power.
Well, okay. So, another question that I feel like I get a lot here is a lot of people will ask, how difficult is engineering really? How much work is it really? And, in CISO, you weren't specifically in electrical engineering. So I can't really speak to your experience, but, maybe to start with Josh this time, I've told the story many a time of how we used to stay in the basement of one of the residence halls until, stupid hours in the night. Maybe give us your perspective of how difficult engineering was.
So you do kind of, in my opinion, you need to be naturally good at math and science.
Mhm.
Um, and that's just because I think anyone, if they really, really wanted to, like of average intelligence, could get an engineering degree.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think if you don't, if you aren't like a strong mind with math and science, or like STEM type like fields like that, it's going to be way harder. Like you're going to have to spend a lot of time.
You're going to hate it,
You're
right? You're just going to
probably
not
going to have
like
to,
it.
yeah, you're gonna hate your life is the first thing. The second thing is you're going to have to like be really strategic about which classes you take. Like you're
Yeah.
not just going to be able to take any class you want because
Right.
it's interesting. You're going to have to find the easy one, and you're also going to have to like get the right professor. So you're going to be hating your life. You're going to be doing as many hours as you can as like every semester. You're going to be trying to find the right professor, and the timing's not going to work out. So you might have to extend a semester. It's just going to suck.
Yeah.
So that's
And,
one thing I would say.
and see, so maybe to kind of switch the question up a little bit, in your opinion, is it more about, how smart you are and how quickly you can get your assignments done, or just the level of effort you put into it? I know I have an opinion on this. I'd like to get your opinion just to be successful in engineering in general.
So I think it's more about like how that effort is applied like strategically. So you have to know
Mhm.
like with what you're dealing with. I think a lot of the difficulty is like transitioning to thinking like the reason why the math, the science, like things like physics specifically, or any like the relationships that you talk about when you talk about like disciplines in science, if you can't think abstractly and talk about the ideas that you have in those classes, in that sense, like these are systems and these are processes and these are like point A to point B to point C, points of logic.
Yeah.
That's like you need to just think about things like that. And if you can think about anything like that, then you can definitely do engineering and things. But that's what Josh is talking about, like naturally being good at it, is that you have to have like um some people call them mental models, but you need to be very good at those visualizations within your head
Yeah.
to track everything, right? And so I think if the question was like its amount of effort, I think there has over nobody's going to tell you this while you're growing up, but like that's the effort that needs to be done over those years so that when it by the time that you show up to college, like it seems like it's natural, but that's what you've been working on,
Yeah.
right? So like I like to think like things that like influenced me a lot, like whether it was like center midfield position in soccer, or like being bilingual and like knowing like the words that the cognates and like things like that, like it depends on like everyone will have their different things based on their life strategies, but that's what I would say is like that thing that seems like very innate is because like you've used it in other areas, and
Right.
then you just simply have to like be like, this applies to engineering, and now there's like specific languages that we use, whether
Yeah.
it's like math or physical properties,
I
natural
think no,
laws, all
I
that kind
think
of
that's
stuff.
a really good point. In your case, you're now doing a lot of coding type work. I'm sure the ability to be bilingual, to learn new languages, I'm sure that helped a lot in when you were first learning, like, in college we did C++ originally, but like, stuff like that. And I think I have said a lot on this channel that, you know, if you put in effort, a lot of effort, anyone can do engineering. And the
Yeah.
people that I look at, which I'm so sad that Alex couldn't join us today.
Mm.
But normally we have another guy on here, Alex Kadiri, great guy. You guys saw the wedding
I
video,
feel like that's a
hopefully,
dig at
bachelor
Alex.
party.
Like,
It's not a dig
man,
though.
dude, I wish we could have had the idiot on here.
Dude, nah,
No,
dude,
Tell
I had
us
to
how
work.
easy
I had
it
to
is
work
to be an
so much,
engineer.
bro. Dude,
no,
I would be in my dorm, like, I had like not this same mirror, but I had like one of these mirrors like in front of me. I'd have like my writing stuff. So like, remember that class that we took that we'd have a weekly exam and
yeah,
we'd have a
yeah,
little flashcard. Like I'd just be looking at myself in that mirror sometimes. It's like, man, you just got to get through this. You gotta
yeah,
decide. Like I'm like writing. I think um I think it showed differently in all of us, like the way we presented ourselves in the class.
right,
Like it was always weird to me, like, oh, how we talk about like, the results after, and like I'm already exhausted, bro. I don't want to do none of this.
yeah,
And I feel like I remember like it wasn't until like the latter half of college that I like really started like going out and stuff
yeah,
too
exactly.
much, like because like the first couple of years, bro, I was like, man, I didn't study
You're
none of this
grinding.
physics. I stayed that first semester. I joined the engineering honors, like the
Yeah, yeah.
engineering fundamentals.
Oh, okay.
Next semester switch, bro. I was like, I don't
Really?
need to be doing this complicated of physics introduction. Like these people are probably have
Built
taken
different.
physics more than me, and I don't need to know as much of this kind of physics for what I need like at
Yeah.
this moment in time. And I'm just like, slow it down, lower it down.
Well,
I
no,
know I
okay.
know people
So
who took engineering fundamentals honors, bro, and that was just, it wasn't for me,
I
I
bet that
did
was
uh,
that.
quite a jump for UNC. So like coming from like what, like going from
Chemistry to
chemistry to
yeah.
like
yeah. Yeah,
PA,
Well,
like
he
my
talked about projectile motion,
you-
and they started. Oh man, it just started getting. It was a lot. It was a lot.
my
I got a
point
B
being
or
though,
something in that
is
class.
like my point being is like you could be the smartest person in the world. Well, maybe not the smartest. I don't know if you guys remember Dev. That guy actually was so freaking smart, and I felt
Or
like he never
Austin.
had to study.
Yeah,
Yeah, or Austin. But you can be of like relative average, above average intelligence in math and science. But if you're not willing to put the work into it, like the effort, you're still gonna get burnt out, or like you're not going to be successful. um
yeah,
well, that's the other piece of it too. I think you have to have a passion for it. It has to be interesting to you.
yeah,
yeah,
and
And I
I
don't
think
think like for Dev.
like in Alex's case, and we've got another friend, Cody, who I would consider both of them like definitely above average intelligence for the regular person, but you wouldn't be like, oh, this guy is a genius. And that's not a dig at either of them because they're both now very successful engineers.
And they
But it's
both say
like
that to you. So
they both like just tried
yeah,
so extremely hard in college. And so it's like, I don't know, for me, just watching them go through college, I always feel like the trade-off is like, 75% effort, 25% how
yeah.
smart are you?
Yeah,
Um,
and the funny thing is, like, I think besides Josh and maybe Spencer, I feel like those two guys seem the most sure of themselves in terms of the rest of their life's track.
yeah,
Um,
for
like
sure.
if you really look at the rest of us, like, the way Dan talks about his job, or Jerome, you
Dude,
switching
I
up your
hated it.
MBA, you switching up your MBA, or me, like,
Yeah.
yeah, just being kind of like in this world where I'm always changing, like it just, I don't know, their level of certainty and direction in life now is it's
Right.
interesting to, have seen that. So
And, maybe the last thing that we can kind of talk about here is for all these kids that are trying to go into engineering and, are maybe struggling or want to quit. Maybe I want to get your guys' input on, what your lives look like now, and was it worth it? And, not necessarily from a like financial perspective. Obviously, that's a good part of it. Engineers make a lot of money. Um, but maybe more from like a self-fulfillment type perspective. Josh, any thoughts?
I mean, I love my job um, right now, and you're always, I mean, you're constantly evaluating and balancing that with the rest of your life. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, you got a week and it's like a 60 or 70-hour week and you feel like you didn't get anything done. I mean, that's discouraging. And,
Yeah.
if that's consistently happening, you got to evaluate, like, do I really still like this? And is this really still what I'm supposed to be doing?
Right.
mhm.
But no, I mean, in the general like sense right now, and I think, it's a different question in a year, but right now, I mean, I generally have a really tolerable balance between like work and the rest of my life. And the work I do, I feel like is really fulfilling and I enjoy it a lot. So,
And
um,
CISO, what about you?
but that's, I mean, and that varies with the company and how
Yeah,
good,
that's
I
true.
mean, yeah, you're gonna get a lot of offers out of college, and the number is gonna be the most important thing to you, the base salary number. But you really need to consider PTO hours and other things, the benefits and the reputation of the company.
Oh,
And
you know what? That's a very good point, Josh. Do you want to tell a story about, one particular offer that you had coming out of college and why you turned it down?
yeah, so and I'll just tell everybody. I
Yeah,
mean,
tell the
I had
numbers.
an offer from Exxon, and I mean, it was over $100,000. It was right above $100,000 was the offer, and it was going to be in Beaumont, Texas, at a refinery, and which Beaumont is not a super like rural area. I mean, it's about an
No,
hour and a
it's
half
no
from
Austin.
Houston. It's no Austin. It's about an hour and a half from Houston on a straight flat highway, stop and go traffic. But it's and I'm kind of used to that anyway because I'm from like Dandridge, Tennessee, so I'm used to small towns like that. But
Yeah.
it was 13 hours away from East Tennessee, where my girlfriend at the time, Mallory, who is now my wife, was, where my parents were, where everybody else I knew growing up was.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could have grinded that out for 2 years and worked there instead of just taking the offer from Eastman. But I think that would have like hurt me in the long. Well, I don't know. I mean, you get somebody who's spent a couple years at Exxon. I mean, you go to other companies. I mean, Exxon is a really renowned and
It is.
respected name in the industry. So you throw that around and you are considered pretty highly at other companies. So, uh, but it was just and the culture there too. I was asking those kinds of questions in my interview. It was not the collaborative and friendly culture of Eastman. It was very cutthroat. The group I was going into was a kind of similar design type group,
Yeah.
and they had 10 people in the group. Every year, one person gets cut out of the group, and a new person comes in. And so, literally, it was turning over. And if you didn't find a new internal position in the company, you were just out of the company. So, I
That's
mean, let
crazy.
go. Um, and I would have been the one coming into that group, and yeah, I just ultimately turned it down. It was just
Right.
and there wasn't like a culture with a lot of young people out of college. So I think it was the right decision for me. I think I was way happier accepting what I accepted at Eastman. So
Yeah. So, and CISO, what about you? How do you feel about, fulfillment and what you've done, where you're at now? And I guess to preface, we're all graduated 3 years now. So, this from the perspective of an engineer 3 years in.
Yeah, my
Well,
path's a little bit different. I
yeah,
graduated a semester after you guys. I did like a
two
7th
and a
month
half years.
co-op. Yeah, I did a 7-month co-op. No, and then I basically traveled for 5 months,
Oh,
right?
that's right.
And
I
so
forgot
I
about that.
basically like whatever, lost a year in terms of like the career. So I've only been like an engineer consultant for technically 2 years.
Okay.
But I guess for the people listening, I have done like research internships. I did do one summer kind of like an undergraduate research program to do, I guess, qualify for a fellowship at a university for a grad program to enter a PhD program. And I ended up just deciding to go into consulting instead. So if the listeners or watchers want to ever, I guess, hear more about that, it'd be interesting. It's a different decision. It's a different kind of like influence you have. Since we're talking about fulfillment, I think like, I mean, I'm definitely developing at this firm. I think the way they structure things in terms of the amount of time I have to put in, like the expectations to work at, it's around 40 hours a week. It's not that heavy. Like obviously you work during that time, but it's really making the most out of your time. Um, and I got to move to a great city. Obviously, I haven't been living there because of the pandemic. Living in New York, but we have offices in other places, and we're not that big too, though. So it's not like we don't have the opportunity to network with people. And I know people across the country, both at clients and just at internally. I would say, yeah, no, I mean, it's paid off. I think there's bigger questions for me. I've been able to do a lot of things. I've been able to work for specific clients, do things in my personal life that I've been asking more questions about, like, how am I actually like applying these skills to better people's lives? And I think I have, right? Like we've been building, and I would say the same for you all, like, we're providing like either like very essential services to then people who provide even more essential services, life-saving services, or life improvement, life enhancing services. So I like to think of things that I do like that, and I'm very fulfilled. I do
Yeah.
have other questions about like, are there things that aren't being pursued out there that I'm a little bit more passionate about, and do I want to take the risk and do that? That's kind of still out there for me. But what I will say is like that engineering education, and more importantly, like the practical experience I got from internships, from meeting people, talking to them, staying connected like we do this, and just getting perspective of what people are into. I think for 100%, it connects you with people who are going to be doing different things, not just within the computer
Yeah.
world. So yeah, there's definitely more there, but overall, I think if you just ask yourself the kind of influence you want to have in the world, like you're gonna get paid. Like if you're good at what you do, you're gonna get paid. You're gonna be able to do the whole retirement thing, take vacations, and at least purchase yourself a home. Like you'll be able to do all that if you play it by the book. I think there's
Yep.
bigger questions of like what you end up contributing to. Um, I think that's a more personal question. I feel like engineers have to ask themselves.
It's on a deeper
Yeah,
level.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
You
because
know.
like you're gonna get paid. Like if you're good at what you do in this area, like there's so many problems out there in the world. Like if you're good at it, like somebody's gonna hire you because
Yeah.
there's problems to solve.
Well, that brings us to a little segment we have on the Nonsense Brewery called Last Call. If you don't get it, go to a bar, or don't, because most of you are probably like 18 looking to go to college. So, wait until you're 21. But for last call, we like to give you guys recommendations or just kind of whatever as a final goodbye before we leave. So, Josh, I'll let you start us off with your last call.
Yeah, so I guess we've kind of hit on the high points of and the highlights of how we've came to be where we are, who we are, and I think it's important that we talk about like the most discouraged points we were ever at, and like the lowest points we were ever at, because there are definitely some of those too.
Oh yeah,
Like Jerome and I together, I know, like we had to take a W at the University of Tennessee, which is where you drop a class and you get credit for those tuition hours you paid for.
Yeah.
So we did have to, kind of punt on a class occasionally. Well, only one time in our case, but
Yeah.
and take it over the summer to catch up. So that was kind of discouraging when I was, and I mean, that was a week of hell where I was just sitting like, gosh, am I going to be able to do this? I mean, we're only in our sophomore year and I'm already like dropping
Yeah,
classes. I mean, that
exactly.
was really discouraging. And I mean, there's just like, yeah. So I mean, classes. I mean, there's just some that are not natural to you. It feels like everybody around you has a better grasp on the material than you do, and you're just like, but they're hiding it too. I mean, the other people in your classes feel the same way you do. May or may not realize that. Like differential equations was another one that was really hard for me, and I worked my ass off and ended up scooting out of there with a B minus. But I mean, you just have to get through it. And I'd say so that was a low point, and the high points were some of your internships, and then some of the classes that you're just natural at, and they are really interesting to you, and you have a great professor. I mean, those are some high points.
Yeah.
The other low point was I was at Eastman for about 6 months, and I just felt like I was not getting it.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a period of at least 3 or 4 months for everyone, but as much as like 6 to 9 months for some, that you're just, I mean, you're a liability to your company right off the bat if you think about it, because they're going to assign you, in a lot of cases, a mentor, and you're feel like you're sucking up all of their extra time.
Yeah.
So you feel like a liability in that case. You feel like your liability on your project work because like you're not. I mean, you're responsible for some things that have some pretty serious like cost and safety implications,
Yep.
and you
Yeah.
feel like you're not doing it to the best of your ability or to the standards of your company. So that's kind of a low point. But like I think it's important to know that like if you stick with it and just commit to it and work hard at it, and yeah, I mean we kind of talked about natural talent already, intelligence, but if you have any natural ability for it at all, if you stick with it, I think you are going to get it. And now being like someone who's been at a company for 3 years, I have a new hire right now, and he's almost through his first year. But just remember that pain, remember internalize that, and remember and help younger people, help students, help new hires at your company, and
Good advice.
tell them you went through the same stuff they're going through. So.
It's good advice.
Because you will
see
come
some
out on
last
the other
call?
side, and you'll be better for it. So yeah, that's it, Daniel.
That was awesome, Josh. Yeah, for sure. I love that you mentioned like the low points, because I think that's all the other stuff that we said sounds really nice. And there's a real thing about like being human and having yeah, just things that you're not good at. Like I mentioned, like the engineering fundamentals class that I felt like I stepped away. I took a W on an elective course that I thought I was gonna like a pattern rec, but I didn't need it for anything, and I just took like I just withdrew from that. That's the only W I had there, but like I just wanted to learn it, and I feel like I could. I just like there's no with all the other stress I had. Like this is where like you will learn. People like don't try to be a hero. Don't do more just for the sake of it. Like give yourself like some grace to find out what's actually needed, and that's how you prioritize like a lot of things. I think what I was gonna say is like, and then I had another low point at the freshman year. I really haven't told like people like this that broadly, but there was a point where like something just bad happened with some work I was doing. My computer like just it loses the work. I'm freaking out because like the assignments due, and this is what's before like that code. Like I wasn't putting stuff in the cloud. I wasn't backing it up to a hard drive. I just out like for no reason. I'm on the phone with my parents. I'm just like not getting them to solve it, but like I just like kind of like broke down on them. And like since then I've never the takeaways there is like none of this stuff is that bad. Like it's not world ending, and if it is, like people's worlds end way worse than that. I'm not saying that doesn't mean you try or not. All I'm trying to say is like it's a daily process. Like think about that engineering career or preparing. It's like it's just day one, focus on that day, then day two, focus on that day. Like you really need to start thinking about like how that knowledge is going to build over time. And that's my takeaway here. It's like, you're not gonna like, like you'll see a job for like senior software engineer at like Google, right? And you're seeing like 200K maybe here in Nashville, and like, maybe because of the cost of living, it's like 300, 400K over in the Bay Area, whatever. And you're like, well, I want that. Well, that's just not gonna happen right out of college, like unless you can literally solve any problem that they throw at you, right? What you're going to do is build that experience over time. That degree, that little paper that we get at the end of the day, that like means nothing if you can't actually, like, somebody asks you a question, and depending on the level of question, you can either answer it right on there, or you have a strategy to figure it out. Like, I don't know this, but I'll figure it out, right? That's the mentality you need. And I think that's kind of like aligned with those low points will just teach you that that this is a process, and that things are gonna, you're gonna have fun, but you're also gonna like have moments that you got to be cool and put the problem into perspective, and don't let it own your piece. So that's it for me. Yeah.
I'd say my last call, to keep it short and sweet, I talk about this all the time, is just everyone needs to find a group of friends that will help them through engineering school. You guys can see, Josh and Cecil and I met each other for the first time literally 7 years ago at this point, freshman year of college. And we're still really close friends. And, like, you hold each other accountable when you've got a group of friends that are doing the same thing as you. And if I don't understand something, maybe Josh understands it. Or if he doesn't understand something in like a coding class we're taking, maybe CISO understands it. And it's just so important to have that support, because the only people that are going to really understand what you're going through are the people that are going through it with you. So that's my last call. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this very special episode of The Nonsense Brewery. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe to The Nonsense Brewery. I'll have it in the description below. We'll put it at the end in the little subscription box thing. And if you've got more questions, put some comments in the comment box below.
For sure. Yeah.
Maybe tweet at NCSO or tweet at Josh. I'll put their Twitter handles in here.
We could actually get a Slido. Have you ever used Slido before? SLIDO. Lots of companies have been using that to take in questions for panelists. So maybe we could just post a link, and then they can just add all the questions.
They can shoot you some tweets, or connect on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you can find me at LinkedIn, Daniel and Ciso. There you go.
Anyways, thanks for watching the video, guys.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.